Thursday, July 11th, South Haven Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Luke, if you would, the roll.
Clark Gruber.
Here.
Larry Heinig. Eddie Polk.
Here.
Mike Campbell.
Here.
Amy Nichols.
Here.
Bob Sherman.
Here.
Mary Hosley.
Here.
Janice Farney.
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here. Now would be appropriate, Mary, if you wanted to make a motion to excuse Larry.
I move to excuse Commissioner Heinig from today's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, approval of the agenda. And one note, item 7, is it, Kelly? 6. 249 Hubbard. Want to make a quick mention on that?
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, staff discovered an error in the public notice for the 249 Hubbard application. It's really important that the public hearing is noticed correctly, so we need to ask you to postpone this item until the August regular meeting. We will renotice the hearing for that time, so that means everyone who received the notice this time will receive it again, and we anticipate a few more houses will be included as well, and then the application will be considered at that time.
Okay.
I would encourage you to take public comment despite not opening an official public hearing, since I can see that there are members of the public who've come tonight to speak on this item.
Right. So we'll let them talk during, if they wish to speak on the item, even though we're not going to discuss it, it'll be under item 4. All right. Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, meeting minutes. 2 sets. We can take them together or separately.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on May 9th, 2024, and the workshop on June 6th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, public comment. And prior to that, I will review the Planning Commission comment log. We received, let me see, 6 communications. The first was from Dan Agnello on June 24th regarding vested rights and STRs. Same day, Elaine Herbert, same topic, vested rights, STRs. Another on the 24th of June from Dan Agnello regarding STR signs. And again, Elaine Herbert on June 21st, vested rights and STRs. And another 2 from Elaine Herbert, same topic, on July 9th and the 11th. I think that's all of them we received. Any other ones I may have missed? No? Okay. At this time, citizens in the audience may address the Planning Commission regarding items on the agenda for which there is no scheduled public hearing. And if you wish to speak about item 6, 249 Hubbard, feel free to do so. Anybody wish to address? Come up, state your name, address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Aaron Cobb, 914 Center Street. And I'm here to address short-term rental. I own the property at 883 Indiana Avenue, A&D one stop. Been there 29 years, and I applied for short-term rental application. I got the purchase of the short-term rental, but I've been trying to get the business short-term rental. Okay, I had the idea that I would get it before they put a moratorium on the short-term rental, and before they done away with the lottery. I had high hopes. But my concern is, it's only two, no more than three, B1 in the city of South Haven. And I've been asking the council, would they make a recommendation that B1 be exempt from the moratorium? Someone on the council will tell me he have to talk to somebody on the zoning. And then they say you have to talk to somebody on the planning. So I don't know where to go from here. My situation is, I've had that store there for 29 years. It done good, really good for the first few years. Walmart come in, that cut out the T-shirt sales and all that kind of stuff. And then every gas station in town now sells what I was selling, so they cut that out. So I thought I could take short-term rental, take part of it, turn it into a short-term rental, business short-term rental, and I could keep my business going. And seemed like nobody want to help me. And as I said, I'm the only, I was told by city council, only two B1 in the city of South Haven. I am one of them. I am within 75 feet, at least 75 feet from any house. I'm not nobody around me. I understand what the city doing about, saying the residential short-term rental and all of that. But I'm not residential short-term rental. My short-term rental won't disturb anybody. The parking and they have plenty of parking and everything. So I can't understand why nobody would try to help me after all them years I've been there. All I'm asking for is that, and I was told by someone that I would not get a short-term rental. I should have got it when the other council was in. And that was somebody that's not really on the council. So my concern, could somebody on one of these committees make a recommendation that B1 at least be exempt? Because, as my grandson, hypothetically, if you say no other building can be built on B1, we're not going to, allow any more B1 in the city. We're going to give 100 application to B1. Only one in the city can get it because I was told by city council it's a bed and breakfast in the city on B1. Already a business. I'm the other B1. So I can't understand why I can't get a business permit. And nobody seemed to want to recommend that, at least the B1 be exempt. At least I can get a business permit to keep my business operable. That's all I'm trying to do. And I've been in this city 50-some years, and I've seen the city help business when they need to make a change. They help let business make a change to keep the business operable. And that's all I'm asking. Somebody, help from somebody. Thank you.
Mr. Cobb,
Yes.
who are your council representatives?
First Ward Council is Joe Reeser and Letitia Wilkins.
And have they offered to help you with
No.
this at all?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
Thank you. All right.
And I have had a couple of meetings with them. No.
Interesting. All right, who's next?
Hi, I'm Elaine Herbert. Thank you. Thank you for being a reliable board. Nevertheless, especially after tonight, there's a reason why we have trust issues. And tonight, these gentlemen said, after some questions about home occupations no longer being required in the recodification of the ordinance, they said all of the same requirements are there now under general provisions home occupations. So excuse me, I did listen to the rest of the meeting, but I went home and got up on my computer and took a look at general provisions and home occupations. So it is radically redacted from the definition of home occupation, in addition to no longer needing a special use. And it is as big a threat to residential life as short-term rentals ever were. Now eliminated, besides the small definition of home occupation which is in here. The complete and current definition as proposed is that home occupations would have no customers or clients visit the property, no parking or commercial vehicles, no shipping or receiving of merchandise, no storage of materials, no signage, no visible evidence of business activity. If you got a special use, it would not exceed 10% of the gross floor area. There'd be no alteration in the residential character or function of the premises. No person not residing on the premise could be employed. No equipment or machinery could be used, and the home occupation couldn't have smoke, odor, dust, vibrations, light, traffic congestion, reduction in the living environment, etc. Now it's 25%, not 10% of the home. It now permits a sign by right, not just as it used to if you got a special use, affixed to the home 2 feet, 2 square feet, affixed to the home. Now you can get a sign, according to the sign ordinance, in the yard. It can be in the accessory dwelling unit now. It can be in the garage. Isn't that interesting? It can include retail by right. It permits traffic and customers. This is why we have trust issues. Residents strongly object to the subtraction of the special use language. There's already pop-up bakeries and other types of restaurants appearing in our neighborhoods with flagrant advertising and commercial websites on social media. I bake bread. I baked probably 500 loaves of bread this winter as a hobby, and I know what kind of goop it's possible to go into our sewer system. I put it into the garbage, but I know it can go into the sewer system. It is already unenforced by staff charged with the responsibility to enforce, and some are even touted by the mayor in her social media. Look, I got a sourdough bread from such and such a place. This home occupation by right and the recodification paves the way for this to continue and worsen. Home occupations require full guidelines and special use. This is incompatible with residential districts, the same way that short-term rental commercial businesses are incompatible in residential districts. Now, short-term rentals as commercial businesses, which they're going to be in the recodification, require deletion from residential zones and inclusion only, at best or worst, in multiple family districts and commercial districts, like Mr. Cobb's. According to Article XXVII, vested right, nothing in this ordinance should be interpreted or construed to give rise to any permanent vested rights in the continuation of any particular use. Vested rights indicates how and why residents were summarily deprived of the promise of safe, peaceful, residential living with the intrusion of the incompatible use of STRs. STR stakeholders also now have no promise of forever vested rights, the one since 1/1/2019, to continuation of any particular use. City Council and Planning should remove Section 1743 and Section 1744 from the South Haven zoning ordinance. All STRs, both business and personal, and exempt. Please simply do so. When annual registrations expire, so should the use. Section 27 is the way. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else? Going once, twice? Dan Agnello.
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I'll reread what it says on my T-shirt, vested rights. Nothing in the ordinance shall be interpreted or construed to give rise to any permanent vested rights in a continuation of any particular use, district, zoning, classification, or any permissible activities therein, and they are hereby declared to be subject to subsequent amendment, change, or modification as may be necessary to the preservation or protection of public health, safety, and welfare. This proposed draft is being determined to be taken out of the recodification, which I think is a mistake. I'll quote what Elaine had quoted earlier in one of her emails about the grandfathering clause. They're talking about grandfathering everybody as of 12/31/23, And there are numerous non-conforming STRs that will never get inspected or checked on. The grandfathering, in a sense, exceeds the bounds of the vested rights. It is not required by law and is essentially a gift to the property owner. But the biggest problem we have, they do not have to have grandfathering use for non-conforming use. It's already covered in 2300 of the Code of Ordinance, or in the zoning ordinance. Let's be clear about STRs. They are not threatened by the non-conforming sections of the South Haven zoning ordinance unless grandfathering occurs. Grandfathering previous STRs that are lawfully registered before 12/31/23 is a big mistake. Our city says that there are perhaps 30 existing non-conforming STRs. Cliff Broom, about two months ago in the city council meeting. And we believe there's more than 100. But herein lies the problem. If you declare these non-conforming ones conforming at the end of the year, then there's no way to get these changed. There have been numerous emails, discussions with the city saying these items are non-conforming, and nothing has been done. Recently, we had one for our assistant city manager. His answer was, because I said so. Now, come on. Residents require and they deserve a definitive answer. If we send an email to Kelly or whoever and say, this house is non-conforming, here's why we think why, she should investigate it and let us know and let whoever else know. We should not have to go to zoning board. See, the problem is, if you have to go to zoning, ZBA, then you got a big problem, because they know, everybody knows you're not going to go to the zoning board. It's going to cost you $22,000 at least, $600 for your application, and $1,500 for your escrow. Nobody's going to go to the ZBA all the time to complain about somebody that has an illegal STR. So this has to be changed. We have to get enforcement, and it has to be done for the residents and when they ask about it. And also the biggest problem is, city says that there's a statute of limitations. No. Cliff said again in the meeting, there's no statute of limitations on any of these nonconformances. So we need better enforcement, and we need to leave Section 27 in there. And we also, in the zoning ordinance changes, you need to set a number, and we need to look at all the nonconformances that we think are based on that number. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? How many in the audience plan on speaking tonight? Raise your hand, so we can get an idea. Just one more? Okay, two more? All right. Go ahead.
Hi, Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana. I'm continuing the same thing. The recodification and new STR ordinance intend to certify the obvious that STRs are a commercial use. The South Haven ordinance has forever intended and valued residential neighborhoods to be free of uses that are incompatible with residential living. Commercial uses belong in commercial districts. STRs belong in commercial districts. SHZO Section 27 vested rights assures us that no vested rights are to be assumed for any uses. Recodification intends to delete Section 27, and residents demand to know why. Section 27 gives residents the right to control our city as we wish. Let it stand and stay, and let it now solve our STR problem. Planning and City Council have the right and the will of the majority of residents to delete short-term rentals and SHZO Sections 1743 and 1744 from all residential districts in the recodification. Please do this. STRs since January 1st of 2019 have no grandparented vested rights. Do not grant them. Restore our residential neighborhoods. The new ordinance provision for grandparenting existing STRs is fully unacceptable. We accept no amnesty for non-compliant STRs, no burying of 8 years of staff mistakes, zero enforcement, and cover-ups, no rush to an ordinance created by staff and lawyers. Residents reject and do not support this. Thank you.
Rachel Senkowski, 251 Hubbard Street. So I live next door to what's going to be 249 and the driveway that's in discussion. And I'm very happy that we're stepping back for a month and re-noticing, because I think that gives a pause of time for maybe some action from yourselves. I am really going to encourage that the Planning Commission review the driveway not just on paper, but actually look at it physically as well. I have a vested interest in obviously my parcel of land, but the parcel of land that's next door to me as well relative to this driveway. I've lived in my current location for 28 years. So I do bring some good history on what has transpired over the last few years, and also what is anticipated to happen in maybe the future. The property boundaries should also be clearly marked. They're not currently for that driveway. And as currently some of that driveway, the said driveway that we're talking about, is actually on my property as well. In light of the suggestion of another single-family home in our neighborhood, currently there are 9 homes in that little cul-de-sac area. The existing city infrastructure really needs to be evaluated based on its current long-standing state of disrepair. So not only am I going to encourage that you actually take a look physically at the driveway, but you also take a walk down Hubbard Street and see the state of disrepair of that road, which clearly cannot take any more traffic. With increased traffic to 253 Hubbard, which is the old Sharble residence at the back of my property with the said parcel between, this is now a short-term rental. And this driveway that we're talking about is incurring a significant increase in volume of traffic, so much so that it's more like a roadway. I've counted 6 vehicles actually down at the short-term rental going to and from. So we're not really talking about a driveway per se. We're really talking a bit more about a road, especially if we put another residence onto that driveway. The concerns with that is that there are no setbacks, there are no speed limits, there's not a pedestrian trail, and this really doesn't ensure that there's not going to be any safety hazards. And so once again, I'm really going to encourage that you go down and you take a look at what you're seeing on paper. They're just a few of my general concerns over a number of concerns that I have that I will put together in more detail and present to you next meeting.
Anyone else?
Can I say something?
Sure, come on.
I live next door to her. I live along the driveway, 28 years. And she's been there before me, but I've been here 28 years in July this month.
Can she repeat?
Name and address.
Susan Sontag, 255 Hubbard. My driveway goes directly in front of my house and goes into my house. My garage is first, and my doors are on the north and south. Even today, the mowing of the lawn is done by I know the guy who's bought the property behind Rachel. I've met him anyway, and he's a very nice man, but I think somebody's screwing everybody up here. This shouldn't be property that is buildable. There's no access to it, actually. There is no access to that property. That's why he wants to have access, or, have you guys approve something like this. It's so hard to even express how I feel. What I've watched even today, and okay, I'm only 10, whoever lived in, David Schavel, Mr. Schavel, I knew him well all these years, except he went to Florida in the winter most of the time, but then he got old and stayed home. he bought property from my land before I was ever there, from the elderly lady who had it built, to build that driveway, to build his house back there. He owned, I believe, Rachel's house. Okay? The lady who just talked to you, my neighbor. There's a lot of history, and I will just stop. I'm too angry to think about it. I've just had the semi-truck back down my driveway while I'm in my bedroom. It's like it's right outside my window. I'm not kidding you, because I only have a little bit of, it's not even, I've been mowing that land for 28 years, a little bit of like 4 feet from the drive, because I didn't realize that wasn't mine, but I can see the marker. I mean, I dug it up to pull it up and put an orange tag on it so I can see it. There's things I didn't think about, but I don't think that whoever made that into a property you could purchase and build a house on had any right to do that, okay? There's just no reason, there's no access. It's a land, what do you call it when it has no access? Land that has no access. People behind me have a huge lot. They could have 2 more houses behind me, but there's no access. They already put barriers as much as they could, so lawnmowers and riding mowers couldn't go up into their yard, and to get across to another yard on Bailey Street. I mean, come on. Like Rachel said, I don't care what you do because I'm not lasting that much longer. I'm 77. But this is aggravating to me. It hurts me. And it's, somebody's done something wrong way back from the start. And now they've sold property to a man that shouldn't have bought that. And I feel sorry for him. But that doesn't mean he gets the right to build a house on it. There's no access, none. Whether the guy who bought the big house, the ranch, Chavos house or not, he's renting and he got told he could do this and that. I don't know what he got told. I don't know who did it, the real estate person. I don't know who ever made that part of land accessible for a house. It's not. It's not a buildable lot. I don't care how big the lot is. There's no road. There's no driveway. And Rachel has more issues than I do, but when that semi was backing down that drive very slowly, hasn't hit anything, and when they, okay, I'm done. I would take Rachel's advice and get out of the room here and quit seeming like you're bored and don't even know what we're talking about, and go there and look at anything. And any other planning commission needs to get out there and see what's going on. This sounds like the U.S. government. Nobody knows anything about the real people that are living here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 houses within half a block and another half a block are renting. I go across the walk bridge and there's 2 houses, 2 beautiful houses, all fixed up, really nice, rental. Down the street to the right to Bailey, the corner house is a relative of the guy who owns 2 houses. I don't even know how they pay their taxes even. They're not even from the state. And he owns that house on the corner and rents it. So I've met people. They're really nice rental people, but that's ridiculous. I'm
Okay,
done.
thank you.
Take Rachel. She's been here. She knows. I moved here from Illinois.
Next.
Guess I'm the last one. I'm Dwight Pierce. I own the lot there at 249 Hubbard. We purchased it a year and a half ago, and it was 2 lots that were combined to make a buildable lot. There's a 13-foot easement driveway. There's a stone lane that goes back. It's considered a private lane, I guess, since it's only feeds these 2 lots that are back there. I'm assuming this all went to Planning Commission when they combined the lots and made it a buildable lot, because when we bought it, it was for sale for 4 months, I believe, maybe longer. So if there was an issue at that point, I would think people would have argued, why are we selling a lot like that back there where nobody wants it? There's a, like I said, there is a lane going back there. There's a rental house on the end, a short-term rental. I'll be the one to deal with it. I'm not there, but this is the first time I've been up here this summer. So we're going to build a house, be a one-story ranch-style house with cedar wraparound porches on it, three-car garage. It's going to be our permanent home. We're not renting it. So I don't know what else. I wasn't planning on speaking. I knew Susan had talked to her on the street this afternoon, and she said she was coming up here, so I figured I'd come. And if anybody had any questions for me, I'll be around afterwards if they want to discuss it with me or not. And I can't be here for the next meeting. Richard Bloom, who is up True North Builders, he's who we've been dealing with on building the home. He's going to be here in my place, so he can answer questions too on whatever happens next meeting. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, twice, 3 times, okay. Unfinished business, actionable. Currently, we have none, but I expect as the months go forward here, it's gonna fill right up. So take a good look at it now. New business. It's election time. Got to pick a chair, vice chair, and a ZBA liaison. So we've had some talks with Larry. Kelly, you might want to pick up here and
Yes,
fill us
thank
in.
you. So, Mr. Chair, as you know, you've been serving as the chair, and Larry Heinig has been the vice chair and also the liaison to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And both chair and vice chair are willing to continue in those positions, but Mr. Heinig has expressed that he wishes to step away from the ZBA. He has served, I guess I should have looked to see how many years. I don't know the amount of time that he's served, but a number of years, and we've appreciated his service and his valuable input to that board. But going forward, we'll need to make a recommendation that will then go forward to the city council for final approval on that appointment to the ZBA.
Okay. So first and foremost, we need a volunteer or two to take over for Larry's ZBA position.
I'd be willing.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right, so unless anybody wants to challenge me for this prime seat,
No.
I'll entertain a motion to appoint me as the chair again, Larry as the vice chair, and Clark as the recommended ZBA liaison.
Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend you as chair and Larry as vice chair and Clark as ZBA liaison.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none? I don't think we need a roll call. What?
Kelly's face was. Oh, it's my, sorry.
Okay.
All right, I'll repeat. We've had a motion and support. I was thinking roll call, but I don't think we need it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up's item 6. Kelly, when's our next meeting?
August 1st, the
August
first
1st.
Thursday.
All right, so I entertain a motion to postpone to August 1st. Somebody can make that motion.
I move to postpone agenda item 6 to the August 1st Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 7, 432 Phoenix Street, site plan review.
Thank you. 432 Phoenix Street is an application for site plan review for a 2-story addition to the existing structure in the Central Business District. This addition would include second-floor residential and ground-floor garages to provide parking for the residential units. There would be 2 residential units in the existing portion of the building and 1 new residential unit constructed in the new portion of the building. And I hope that the information included in the packet makes that clear. They've provided a floor plan and I don't have it right in front of me, but we can give you a page number in a few minutes if that makes some sense. This is a by right development. Parking requirements are met with, they're over met with one space provided for each residential unit. There's no additional lighting proposed, no additional landscaping required, and no signage proposed at this time. There is one primary concern noted in the engineering report that may warrant Planning Commission consideration, and that's the proximity of the east garage door to Center Street. It's approximately 19 feet to the edge of the door, and I noticed that the engineer was looking for a full 20 feet. We've got the applicant here, Mr. Locker, and his engineer, and they are available to speak about the project and answer any questions that you may have.
Did you say Center Street as opposed to Eagle Street?
I may have. East door, with regard to the east door, the proximity is to Center Street. The intersection is Center and Eagle.
Okay. All right, where do we want to start tonight? Page 86, 87, those are the recommendations. We'll need to go through those.
I will note that I've got a couple of updated site plan pages that I haven't had, that we received today from the engineer. And if I can ask, these begin, Mr. Lamer, to address some of the notes in the engineering report.
I guess I would like to just talk about this 20 feet versus 19 feet. And if we could show that up on the screens, that you can at least see what the difference is. It's only 1 foot. I know it's a rule. I know the requirements for rules. They got to go through procedures. The trick with this site is that it's a very tight site, and there's really no site left after the building's put up. So the location of the doors kind of need to be in this place. If you
Page 101, Kelly, I think is the page you want to be on.
Yeah, so, okay, it's up there. If you look real close, what we are talking about is the distance from the east side of the sidewalk, where it is along Center Street, heading north-south. So if you go to the east side of it, if you measure from that up, go up, please. East side. You keep going a little bit more.
The other east side.
East side of the crosswalk there. If you see the word, it says crosswalk. The east side of that crosswalk to the door of the garage, I have 19 feet, and it's supposed to be 20. Yeah, I don't want to get, it just seems kind of like a foot. We're pretty close to what the intent of this is. We're trying to figure out a little bit of what the intent is. I talked to the engineer today that wrote the report. He said he thought that it was probably so that people could see better backing out of the garage for pedestrians, but I don't understand the logic too much, because you would have that same situation no matter where you were, whether it's 19 feet, 20 feet. You got to look for pedestrians when you're backing out. I would love it if we could get this thing approved the way it is. If you look inside the building at the way the ramping has to be to meet the existing floors from sidewalk to the existing floor in the existing building, we need certain walkway lengths and slopes to meet ADA rules. The other little piece is, if you look real close on the west side of our addition, the existing building of the neighbor, there is a whole bunch of electrical boxes and meters and stuff right along that wall. Mm-hmm. And if you look really close, the corner of the building is in the wall of the neighbor's building. Our property is in the building next door. So in order to have all of those things stay, we have to make room for it in our building. So I can't put the garage on that end of the building because the utilities are there. So we're kind of in a situation not of our doing. If you're looking for a variance kind of thought process, it's not a harm that we've created. It's just that we gotta, that's just the way it is. So we're darn close. I'm hoping we can get approval the way it is. It just makes more sense from a building standpoint. There you go.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Do you think the driveway would have another foot by the time you built the garage and installed the garage door? That you'd get another foot between where the driveway is? I mean, I'm looking at it from that perspective. You're going to get to 20 feet if that's the intent of the
I
engineer.
have a hard time changing the plan if I, as the site engineer, I have a hard time changing the interior of the building with the architect.
What I meant was, if he's measuring it to the interior of the or to the exterior of the building, correct?
The exterior, the east edge of the wall of the garage door. So from the garage door to that taper in the sidewalk.
Okay.
19 feet. Now, if I made the garage door a little narrower, I could make it work.
I thought it was 19 feet to the actual side of the building. It's actually to the garage door. Okay. You know, that's going to be a safety concern anyways, and we have that same kind of safety concern at the property that we approved for consumers. And that safety was cars coming out with a walkway there, because there's still going to be that sidewalk. You know, and I think they came up with a solution of just mirrors to assist with that. And alarms.
Yeah. And
So, I
I
mean-
think that there's ways to make that happen.
And I think there's ways to make that happen, because we had that as a solution, a couple neighbors down from you, if that happens. So I think there's a way to make that happen. Okay.
So if I could just interject real quick, Mr. Commissioner. Currently, the property has a wall that was placed by the city that is approximately 4.5 feet tall, that acts as a block anyway on that property. So currently, there is no sight line. Speaking of safety, we'd be happy to add a mirror to the corner. That's not a problem. We're all about safety. But just so that you know, currently what is there that was placed by the city is actually a wall doing the exact same thing as what we're looking to do.
Well, you meant a down, to the garage.
You can't
We don't
see
have
over the
that.
current wall, so.
But you can see that over the current wall.
Not in a car.
Okay, I was there. It's a little more visible. I think
Right.
we're trying to give you some leeway. We just may need to
Yeah.
look at the safety, which would mitigate that, I think.
It was a little short wall that was put in as part of the Center Street
Cityscape.
redevelopment.
Yeah, there's that short wall there, not
Yes.
a
But
full wall.
if you're
not
currently
very
sitting
much.
in a car, it acts the same as an actual wall. If you were in a physical car, you cannot see over that wall.
Who drives cars?
Let's go to the safety.
Yeah, it's the safety
Either
issue.
way. Yeah.
We'll actually talk about the cityscape in a second.
Okay.
And could I clarify something? I believe there really isn't a driveway, is there? Will the garage door not almost be to the sidewalk?
Correct, yes. There
Okay,
is no
so-
driveway.
Yeah, that's what I thought, no driveway. So I share the concern because you're backing into, if you're backing out of that garage, pedestrian traffic, traffic turning from Center Street onto Eagle Street. So mirrors, alarms, anything like that would really, really be helpful in my opinion. So,
Absolutely, yeah, and we're all for that. And like I say, currently, the way that the parking is set up back there, it's the same way. Same with anything downtown. You know, everything kind of backs right into the sidewalk as it is. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
I completely agree.
if I was parking in that garage, I would back in is what I would do. Same as I do with my current driveway.
Right.
All right, any other questions?
I have a question. Because you have a retail store there, where's your loading dock? How do you get goods in and out of the store?
So the new, currently there is a door on the side of that building, and that will then be the access for loading into the retail spaces. That door will remain, and then that's where they would take any type of deliveries.
I think the east side of the building.
Yeah,
please.
it'd be on the
Where it
east side
says
on
finished
Center Street.
floor, Elevation 61837.
And is that, what street is that on?
And that is on Center Street.
Center Street?
I don't see a door other than a man door.
It's a man door. Yeah, it's a retail shop.
Yeah, where would people park that are loading or unloading? I assume there's going to be, larger vehicles or trucks or something.
Not necessarily. I think most of their deliveries come via UPS.
Oh.
So they are not no different than anybody else downtown.
I had a question, someone mentioned earlier, I forget who it was, the clear vision requirements on lots and being able to see corners and so on. Is that relevant? Is that applicable here?
Kelly?
Generally, no. It would be.
You're asking Kelly, right?
Yes, yes.
We've got a map from the GIS technician showing the clear vision is not an issue with this particular intersection.
Okay.
If I can pull it up.
That's all right. It was mentioned in the recodification, or there are illustrations showing clear vision requirements for corner lots and ordinary lots and so on. I didn't know whether that was relevant here, but if not, that's okay.
I had the same question, and I had raised that to Kelly, because of extending the wall out to the sidewalk, and that being a very busy intersection, both pedestrian-wise and vehicular-wise. And if the GS is showing that the clear vision requirements are met, that was great. What I was going to propose, if Kelly hadn't gotten that information, is that would really fall under item 4. It's already required, and just for you to make sure that that was not an issue, and to come back if it happened to be an issue and couldn't be resolved.
Absolutely.
I think if you want to think of this intersection from a traffic standpoint, we're on the north side of the road where you're not stopping and trying to look around. If you're coming from the west heading east, you can see around the corner. It's a stop sign there. And same thing with if you're coming from the south, you should be able to see around where you're coming from.
I'm more concerned about people making a quick right from Center to Eagle, and people going across, and bicyclists, unfortunately.
That's exactly where the risk would be.
Yeah, unfortunately use the sidewalks and not the roads, and they're going to be moving much more quickly than a pedestrian. So that's where that all comes in. So you've got the pedestrians and the vehicles, and then the car coming out. So it would be like people turning, the clear vision would be people turning from Center onto Eagle, going
North
west.
to south.
Right.
Yep. And for them to see vehicles coming out of the garage.
Okay.
Not for you guys coming out of the garage.
I think if you put the alarm type system in there, that seems
But-
like it's.
But the clear vision is statute, and it sounds like it's all met, so it sounds like it's a non-issue. So thank you, Kelly, for getting that done so quickly.
Just one other question related to hazards. I know on page 81, the staff report talks about the west entrance door opening directly out into the pedestrian path. And I note on page 104 on the drawing that the east entryway is recessed. And is there, to help mitigate the potential hazard to pedestrians, is there a way to design that west section similarly with the staircase and with the door?
Ideally, in the initial concepts it was. However, because of all the utility work that had to be in that area, we have to keep the door out there in order to fit all the electric meters inside. just because of size constraints. Again, that pedestrian door will probably get used 1/10 of the time of the other doors. All of that is kind of like what we would call a lobby entrance for the condo owners. They each have their own separate entrance as well. I don't see that door being used hardly at all compared to all the others.
Okay, thank you.
And I did have a question now, I guess now might be a good time. The cityscape stuff that's there, so there's a big planter and a wall, and I guess all that would need to be removed. Do we have plans to work with the city to save that in case we needed to relocate it somewhere else? In that we did recently purchase that. That is currently public. It's on your property, I think, or when, but it is, public.
It is part of the engineering.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, the engineering report makes note that it would be required to remove that so that it could be reused elsewhere.
Okay, and I didn't quite see that on that. That may be part of our, okay.
All right, anybody else?
No, that was my comment, so.
I just had a couple other questions, just from talking with people downtown. So it's my understanding that the garbage will be in bins that are stored in the garage. Is that how that will be handled for the residents, the condos?
Yes.
And that's just, you guys would provide it privately? It's not city provided, or is it city provided?
Trash collector would.
Good question. Either way, it will be in a bin in the garage,
Okay.
whether it's us or the city.
And so one, parking spaces being lost for this, and we all know how premium parking is. Has there been any thought about other ways to help with parking? Like,
Good question. I'm not sure on that. However, the current parking spot that is there is actually into the property of this current building. It's currently detracting us from 2 parking spots because the city put a parking spot there. So we're not really asking for anything other than what.
It's not a full loss?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
That clarification, and thank you for allowing us to have that spot for that time.
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody else? No? All right, thanks. Who's going to make a motion?
Well, I'm wondering, we've got some recommendations, which we typically review and include because they're really good.
And if, in regards to where the discussion was for the mirror/alarm.
Some type of
I would recommend the exact same language from the Consumers Credit Union motion.
Okay, I just
say that?
happen to not
Because
have
we've
that, yeah.
We've already went through all that, so just use the
You use that,
same language.
that type of language? Okay.
Oh, Dan Agnello left. While you were working that out, I was going to have him come up and tell us about his fishing trip.
Well, that's something we would want to include in here, and seeing that we've already got language and they're agreeable, and they probably also see the safety portions of that, that's awesome. And then the only other thing that, if someone were to put forward a motion to maybe include some kind of preservation of the wall and planter, or, being able to dismantle those so they can be moved, not asking them to move them or asking them to install them anywhere, just making sure that when they are dismantled, they're fully functional, so they can be moved potentially somewhere else within the city.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
during the July 2022 consideration of the Consumers Credit Union project, a condition was added that safety devices be installed at overhead garage doors as approved by the city engineer.
Mhm.
So that would have been administrative approval of the final selection of the devices. So if you all want specifically to include mirrors and alarms, I would recommend stating that.
And that's what it, well, and that's what was explicit last time around too.
Well, I think there was discussion of those things, but when it came to the final motion, the motion didn't include those items specifically. The language was safety devices as approved by the city engineer.
Well, all right.
2 years ago.
Really vague, really vague.
I think so.
I'm just double checking the 9 items here.
Trying to make it easy on everybody.
And staff feels that item 3 of the recommendation has been met. It's the
That would
access
be the-
points.
Sidewalk.
If we can get as close to that 20 feet as possible, that would be preferred. That was the position of the engineer.
So what do you got, the 9 bullet points plus
Plus
10 and 11?
safety devices as approved by city engineer for garage ingress and egress to Eagle Street.
And just out of curiosity, when we've talked about those safety devices before, it was my understanding that the alarms were more important than the mirrors. Is that correct?
I don't remember.
The sound, like a garbage truck backing up, beep, 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 something's going on. That was more important than the mirrors, but both were equally to be used.
Equally for those that are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And potentially even to assist the owners of the vehicles going in and out to see as well.
Or they have headphones in.
Oh, you know, and another curiosity, with the city engineer, with these types of things on the main sidewalk, are there supposed to be paving patterns put in for somebody that's blind to know that they're coming up to a driveway?
That's a good question, and I would defer to engineering with the tactile surface.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know
think-
the ADA requirement
I
for
think-
approaching
I
a
think
driveway.
for that, like a CBD, it is.
Okay, we can double check.
Because that'd be something we'd have to revisit for consumers too.
Yes.
So, what would that fall under on this one? I think that falls under 3.
So how does,
So I don't think we need to make a separate addition to that. I think that's included with item 3.
Could be under 2 as well, if it's a statute that
Yeah.
needs to, yeah,
and potentially 6 with safety codes.
yeah. do that.
Because we didn't have to do that with 45 Center, because that goes into an alley that has no sidewalk. That's about the only other comparison I can think of. Okay, I've stalled as long as I can. You
All right,
ready?
yeah, I think so. I just wasn't sure when you're ready for
We're
me.
ready 10 minutes ago.
All right. Hey, so, I guess I would, make a motion to approve, the site plan for 432 Phoenix Street. And that recommendation, or that, motion to, also include the city's recommendations from page 86, items 1 through 9. In addition, adding item 10, safety devices as approved by city engineer for garage ingress and egress on Eagle Street. As example, overhead mirrors or alarms. And number 11, for the safe dismantling of the installed cityscape wall and planter to allow the city to reconstruct on another site.
Very good. Janice?
Support?
Amy, support?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. Discussion? None? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On to the next one. Item 8, zoning ordinance comprehensive update.
Thank you. I placed this item on the agenda this evening so that you all would have an opportunity to set a public hearing for the full zoning ordinance for the next meeting, if you were so inclined.
I think we are inclined, as long as those 15 points I summarized earlier, as long as we are able to deal with those in a satisfactory way going into the public hearing.
This is zoning ordinance amendments for short-term rental, not recodification.
Short-term rental?
You're-
No,
No.
What?
Did
Yeah.
I advance to the wrong one? Sorry.
perhaps.
There's not an agenda item holder in it, Mary, that's why.
Oh, is there no
Agenda item
bookmark?
10.
Okay.
It just goes from
Right.
1 to
7.
10, yeah.
It's
10.
not, it's okay, there's not a staff report for this item. So
Ah.
if you're jumping with bookmarks, that's right.
Yes, sorry.
I'm on 8, you're on 10?
Yes,
Sorry
item
about
Yeah,
that.
I'm not ready for the short-term rental. I know you're
I was like-
hyped about it, but I'm
No,
ready.
no, I just, like I said, I jumped to the next agenda
Okay.
item, and sorry about that.
So what do you think? Can we do it all next time around, or do you need one more meeting after that?
I think so. I mean, I thought they were reasonably, controversial issues. Like, I thought they were we were all like, oh, yeah, okay, let's do that, do that, do that. I don't feel like there was anything that we would be totally arguing about.
And even if we can even decide not to move forward at that meeting if we get bogged down, and we can renotice too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's what I would support, realizing that we may not
Yeah.
be at a point to go forward because it is so voluminous, and I appreciate Williams and Works not wanting to do a marked up copy from the original to here because of the changes, but we continually discover that things are different, and they're significantly different. And a 10% in-home office is significantly smaller than a 25% in-home office. So we really need to be, it's going to take a Herculean effort to really compare section to section to see how much has changed from our current. I've done several, but it just seems like new sections keep cropping up.
How much is the notice, $100?
It will be substantially more for a notice of this length. It's a fairly lengthy public notice for the entire zoning ordinance. We will rely on Williams and Works for their assistance with this one.
All right. Up to you guys. Just how confident you are in us being able to finish off those last items.
If it takes longer, we can take it out of, the money out of Griffin's check in like August or something like that.
I will also remind you all that we know that this will be a living document. We know that there will be amendments forthcoming. We know that the first amendments, if this moves through very quickly, the final approval, the first amendments to it will likely be short-term rental related. We'll be amending this ordinance very quickly. So it's not as though this ordinance will sit on a pedestal and be untouched for 10 years. We will be making changes. So if we find things, as much as we would like it to be perfect, it will never be perfect, and we can and will make changes moving forward.
No, I appreciate that it's a living document. However, this was represented to us as making things easier to follow and avoiding misunderstandings, so we are all on the same page. However, there have been substantive changes, and it's been admitted that there are substantive changes, and that generally is not what happens in a recodification. And without a track change document, which I requested from the very beginning as a resident, and and that was never provided, and several reasons were provided for not providing it. And it is now at the point where, as we get more comfortable with sections that we identified immediately, other ones are surfacing. And it's not that we're amending it subsequently. We are amending it now, and people are not appreciating what the amendments are, and that is what I find concerning. It's not that I want it perfect. I want to know what the changes are from what we have now to what we're proposing, and so I can appreciate the unintended consequences.
And that's fair. I do also want to say it is intended to be a new document. It isn't simply a recodification. It was never intended to be a recodification. A recodification implies that it's merely a reorganization of the existing text. And the city council asked in 2020 for a rewrite. And that is what Williams and Works was hired to provide, was a new ordinance document. And that's what they've given us.
Right, but all the publication information and the presentations indicated that it wasn't making substantive changes and that it was making things easier to understand and for everyone to be on the same page. And although lot coverage, I appreciate Williams and Works' representation that going from the walls versus the eaves does make it easier, but it was a substantive change. And that actually was not brought forward by Williams and Works. It was, I identified that and said this is allowing larger structures, and that's not consistent with the master plan. So had all these changes been identified from the get-go, so that we could address it as it came forward, I would be less reluctant to go to a public hearing, because I would be more confident that we would be closer to having identified all of the changes. But without a track change, and the list of changes was not complete, it's taking us going through section by section, which is very tedious and unfortunately delays the process.
Okay.
Okay, so question's still the same. Do you want her to notice it, or are we gonna have one more workshop before the notice? Don't all speak at once.
I'll go for one more workshop and then the notice.
That is my preference.
Yes, same.
Okay, so make a motion, Janice, that you want one more workshop.
Oh, I thought you were just doing a survey of
No.
everybody.
No. Trying to move, I got to three, let's go.
Needs one more.
I move that we have one more workshop prior to the public hearing.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported, everybody understands, need more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. Next up, item 9, public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the planning commission regarding items that are not on this agenda. Have anything else you want to add?
That was not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
So-
No.
No.
Okay. Moving on. New business, discussion. Proposed zoning amendment, section 1743 and 44, short-term rentals.
Item 10. Over the past several months, the city council has been working with the city manager and municipal attorney to develop amendments to sections of the zoning ordinance related to short-term rentals. And the results of those efforts are in your packet this evening. At the June 3rd meeting, the city council took specific action to send this text to all of you. And as a part of that motion, the council asked for clarification on a couple of items, and it was Mary who made the motion. And so I'm hoping that Mary will be able to help us through this tonight, because there is a little bit of misunderstanding about how that clarification was to be made, about whether that would happen at the planning commission level, or if this clarification would come specifically from the city's attorney. So this is something that we'll want to talk a little bit more about this evening. Before you all do begin your discussion, I will just highlight some of the substantive changes that are in the zoning text in front of you. The business unit, so as you may remember, there are two types of short-term rental units in the ordinance: business units and personal units. So business short-term rentals allow unlimited rental activity, and personal rentals are restricted to 6 terms and 28 days. So that's kind of the basis for the two sections, currently 1743 and 1744 of our zoning ordinance. Right now, we have business unit saturation controls and an annual allocation process in section 1743. This language has been eliminated, and that saturation ratio that controls the number of rental units that we can have in the city at any given time has been replaced with a hard cap on the number of units permitted in the city. This change would also eliminate the annual staff report known as the snapshot report, and eliminate the need for any potential lottery. There is still a list of developments excluded from the cap, which is very similar to the list of developments that were excluded from the previous saturation ratio. The one exception here is the Sherman Hills PUD, which Mary mentioned earlier did not come to fruition. Changes to personal rental unit regulations are primarily that property owners must qualify for a personal residence exemption in order to obtain a rental registration, and some of the fee language has been modified so that fees are set by council resolution. Those are the highlights as I see them, and Mary, Councilmember Hasley, Planning Commissioner Hasley, please feel free to jump in at any time, and we need to begin discussing these amendments, which eventually will be returned to City Council after holding a public hearing. But the hearing will not be today.
All right. What do you want to tackle first?
Chairman, would you like me to clarify on the motion and the matter?
Okay, so right now our recommendation is that Planning Commission review and discuss the proposed short-term rental ordinance amendment language and any changes the commissioners may wish to make. So I guess on top of that, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so I re-listened to the June 3rd meeting to better appreciate how it all transpired. And during the discussion of the different items, when the motion was being made, Attorney Bloom actually inquired. The motion was very simple initially, to send it to Planning Commission, and the attorney actually inquired whether the motion in the second was implicit with taking out the wording and adding his amendment to the motion on the items the attorney had to address and not send to the PC to address. And that is when I then made the motion adding the other items, which the attorney actually assisted me in completing the list. If you listen to the discussions of abandonment, the attorney actually said, we are going to have to study that more. I would not recommend holding this up from going to PC, but look for direction to give to PC. So that would be the attorney recommending changes to the Planning Commission, not the Planning Commission discussing. And then for abandonment versus destruction, he said it raises an interesting issue. If not another section on abandonment destruction, we'll want to add similar provisions for voluntary demolish. That's one other technical item that we could look at for the PC, but not hold up sending it to the Planning Commission. So the discussion among the council members and the attorney during the discussions leading up to the motion and the attorney's clarification of what that motion included with the amendment that I had made would indicate that the motion was for the attorney to address those and that the attorney hadn't. I would also like to add that several of those items, or I should say those items, really are how the attorney would word something to resolve ambiguity, and that would be then what the Planning Commission would look at, whether they thought it was clear, whether they agreed with it. But I am more than welcome to take comments, and what we may want to do is have a joint meeting with Planning Commission and City Council on the short-term rental amendments so that we can all, that may facilitate it moving forward. I appreciate that the Planning Commission makes the amendments and recommendations to City Council, but the City Council sets the policy that would help direct the amendments to be made to efficiently use everyone's time.
Okay, so you're saying you're waiting for some draft language from city attorney before we consider this any further?
I am saying that we could discuss this tonight, but but it's not complete without the attorney's recommended changes for the items we discussed.
Okay.
So it may not be efficient.
Well, I kind of like that, because then we can just have some language and do an up or down vote, rather than coming to a compromise. So, very good. I do have one thing, though, I'd like to talk about. This is that second bullet point where it says personal rental unit fee language in section 1744 has been modified so that fees are set by council resolution. And right now, it's a straight flat fee. And if you look at things like our marinas, if you bring a boat into town and your boat's 30 foot or your boat's 60 foot, do you pay the same rate? The answer is no. It's price per foot. And I've heard an awful lot of chatter about, purpose-built short-term rental homes that are huge and have occupancy at 20. I think we need to do square footage for short-term rental. Like 1,000 square foot and under is this much, 2,500 is this much, and on it goes. And then, you know, I just think that's a more fair way to do it, because I know there are some very small short-term rentals and there are some very large short-term rentals.
And Chairman Stipman, I completely agree. And did you see my notes that I didn't read at the council meeting on Monday? Because I was going to say that it needed to be based on size.
Very good.
Because an efficiency condominium takes a lot less effort to inspect and monitor and than a 7-bedroom, 6-bathroom home.
Very good. All right. So maybe we can get there on that one.
That was already on my list.
Good. And then secondly, I didn't think we were going to look at this again till we did long-term rental inspections. So once again, I'm disappointed on that.
So if I may comment, it is because of the moratorium and needing to get this done more quickly with everything else on the,
Well, we've had about 4 years.
but we're a new council as of January.
Well, not completely new.
Well, I appreciate, I guess, the PRE, which was something we had discussed at one point in time early in the development on whether or not that would be personal. Because one of the ideas of a personal short-term rental was to allow the residents the opportunity to have that. That's why it was really pared back, you know? It was, hey, you're a homeowner, you've got a PRE. I think that is one of the secret sauces in going forward. So I'm glad that that was something that has been discussed. I think something else too, because I just took all these notes, was Maple Gate. When we looked at the PUDs at that time, I think we had a lot of empty PUDs. And the short-term rental allowed many of these to begin construction. One of them had almost nothing on it, and now it's going gangbusters. So it was a business incentive in particular PUD areas. Maple Gate's still included in here, and I think it's completely built out. So I'm not sure if that's, in my view, the best use then of having them in an excluded PUD if they're completely built out already, because it talks about those PUDs being partially and built, and at this point they're completely built out, or 80 or 90%. Yeah, approved underdeveloped or partially developed, and that one's almost fully developed. So I think that would be something to look at as well if we have that opportunity. I'm not sure if that's a section that the legal individual would look at or not. And I think those were most of my notes. I have no more access right now to my Corporate
I
One
happen to have
Drive.
driven through Maplegate just within the last several days, and I totally agree that it is completely built. There's
completely
no
built.
empty lots that I could see.
So
And I
there-
wondered too, Mary, if maybe you could add some clarity. Qualifying for personal residential exemption, residence exemption is a good thing, but qualifying doesn't mean you ever occupy that property. You may, but you don't have to. I think the intent and the goal would be, as Clark said, to have that owner occupying that property most of the time.
At least enough for a legal PRE, because supposedly we're only allowed to have one
Yes,
in the state of Michigan.
right.
And that would also prevent individuals who potentially get around an LLC here, an LLC here, an LLC, and they've got 3 personals. And each one of them is in fact a separate entity, which allows this. But by tying a PRE to it, someone would have to have 3 PREs. And I think that's kind of, like I said, the secret sauce of being somebody's personal residence, that, hey, they can do it for 2 or 3 weeks and help pay for their taxes, or even
Yep.
do a house swap with someone in
Exactly.
another city.
So, yeah, technically, you're only supposed to have 1 PRE per person in the state of Michigan, although that seems to not always apply, because I know of people who have lost PREs. So we had looked at PRE and 180 days, and you'll see the 180 days was stricken. The theory being the state determines PRE qualifications, and it's more defined, and it takes some of the regulatory off of the staff. And so that's why we opted to go with the PRE and not require someone to show how often they are in the home, with the understanding that if you qualify for a personal exemption, then you are in the home more often than not.
But when I was personally in transition from Ohio to South Haven, I had a homestead exemption in Ohio. And I don't know the technical differentiators between a homestead exemption and a PRE, but I applied for a PRE here because I wanted lower taxes. And I was granted. I had registered as a voter. I registered my cars in the state of Michigan. I was getting, I took utility bills down to the city, and I qualified, and my taxes were lowered. I was not living here full-time at then. We were massively renovating the property, but nevertheless, I qualified. And again, I think the goal is that the owner of the property is physically present, whether it's 180 days or some period, to have that skin in the game, if you will, or the vested interest in maintaining this property and not being a you-know-what to your neighbors.
And I think Mary is right in that the onus, the state kind of creates this is what's considered a PRE. And there are going to be these areas where you're in transition, or my paperwork has been in for I don't know how long. It still looks like I have to. And I filled out paperwork to remove one of them, So you've got that's just sitting there in transition. But the spirit is that the state has said, this is what you need for your homestead exemption. And also, STR or no STR, there is enforcement that happens on people who just happen to have lots of houses. So that is out there, and that's been done long before STRs. In fact, I think we share an individual with some other county that does that, tracking that
Right,
down.
and-
So we've got something in place. I think if we burden it to the point where we have to prove someone stayed somewhere for X number of days, it gets really hard, especially if there's going to be an individual that's maybe only here the summers and they winter somewhere else, but this is actually their home.
Right, exactly. And that reminded me, I was also going to add, so if you're an LLC, you cannot get a PRE. So that prevents someone from having a home and 3 homes, and they would not be able to get a PRE for any of them. It inadvertently happens, but it's quickly corrected. And I just know of an individual who is not here, where a PRE was claimed and the state revoked it. So, and that's what I meant, is that the onus is on the state, because the state determines PRE. It frees up staff time. And it was just something that the city council felt would get closer to what the original intent was, is to help those who are here year-round, full residents, to make some extra money.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the state may define what it takes to qualify as a PRE, but it is the local, excuse me, the local city, municipality that approves it. Is that not so? I didn't send anything to the state of Michigan. I went downtown to City Hall right here and submitted my paperwork, my application, and I got approved, not the state of Michigan. I didn't send anything to Lansing.
But it's based on state law, and the state is the one who enforces it. So if someone thinks somebody applied incorrectly or doesn't qualify, the state, not our local staff,
Okay.
would be the ones for enforcement,
Okay, probably a very remote chance of that, but
I believe. Kelly, is that your understanding?
I would defer to the assessor.
Okay, but that's my understanding,
Okay.
and if I've misspoken, please correct me.
Okay, so my understanding now is we're just gonna wait for some language, right?
yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So because it was sent here, Kelly, should we send it back to city council requesting that the more final draft be sent to planning commission?
No?
Okay,
It's not necessary.
okay.
According to what you're saying, the motion was, actually, it's premature, it came to us now.
That could be the case. I think that there was misunderstanding that it was to come and that those items would be worked out at the planning commission level with the attorney rather than having the attorney work out those items and send the text to planning commission. So if there are other items that you all are seeing in the text that you have comments on, feel free to make those comments, or we can just do it all when we get the text from the attorney. I don't know when that will be.
And I would say that's pretty much true, because I don't know if some of these items this group agrees with completely.
Sure.
And also, the attorney was asked to be here, but unfortunately with his
Was
schedule,
not
he
able.
couldn't. So had he been here, it would have been
We may have been able to have
Yeah.
that discussion.
exactly.
Yes.
So, we tried.
Yes.
Moving on.
I do have a question. With the short-term rentals, for the personal short-term rentals, I believe it's 12 people in a house.
So we did talk about occupancy, and so some items are being proposed to move to the code of ordinance, the
Okay.
regulatory, and because it is in the zoning ordinance, if the zoning ordinance and code of ordinance both address the matter, like occupancy, the more restrictive one would control. We have identified that for personal short-term rentals, occupancy is in the zoning ordinance. I am hopeful that that will be resolved as we come forward with the code of ordinance amendments,
Okay, because I don't see the business occupancy.
because that's all in the code of ordinance.
Okay, and what is it? What's the number?
So that is a more complicated situation. Some can go as high as 16. It's a calculation, and I know that that is a topic of discussion that many city council members are looking forward to have, so I will refrain from going into.
I just noticed that the personal one was included and the business one was not.
And we are aware of that difference.
Mary, on page 112 of our packet, item D says each short-term rental personal dwelling unit must actually be physically occupied and inhabited by the owner, which would imply that I'm going to rent a room, but I'm going to continue to live and be there rather than rent the entire home, seems to me.
So that was actually a discussion point that Councilman Sleeper brought up during our discussion on June 3rd. And it's my recollection that, here we go. So for everybody's benefit, there's actually two versions of the amendments, and it's best to look at the one that begins on page 122 for the marked up version, which is the May 28th version. And so then for that section, if you go down to, it's on page 126, it's been changed to strike out for at least 180 days per calendar year. And Councilman Sleeper had actually raised a concern about the physically occupied and inhabited part. And that was one item that was to be addressed by the attorney.
And George sent an email, I think, just today.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, I saw that, so thanks. Yep, you're right.
On your list.
Yeah.
Yes, so that has been identified. That was identified on June 3rd, and that would be an item for the attorney to reconcile, to address that concern.
And that's actually one of the oldest ways of short-term rental in South Haven. People used to get off the ships and stay in a room of someone's home.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Unless there's anything else, I don't think we need a motion on this. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. Is that a motion or a vote?
Okay. Staff comments.
We talked a little bit during our workshop about the next workshop, which I would like to propose for August 1st, again at 5 o'clock, so that we have time to work with Ryan Kilpatrick and now again some zoning ordinance
Fine.
items. So
August
5
1st.
o'clock, please, August 1st, first Thursday of the month, followed by a regular meeting at 7 o'clock, because we will have a couple of agenda items to review in addition to the workshop.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, I started with you earlier today, so we'll.
No comment.
No comment? Okay.
I just want to thank Kelly. She helped get information out for taking the community survey. We had a great turnout. She even went with me to the nursing home, and we spoke with some individuals, and it was really remarkable, some of their comments. And then I followed up because they were very engaged. And I had 2 hard copies for them to enter. And also kudos for the rapid response on the corner vision, clear vision. And thank you to, is it Brian who ran that? Oh, Ryan, yeah, Ryan Bosher, who ran that quickly. So thank you so much.
No comment.
Great job tonight. I'm glad you came out and talked on the Hubbard. You know, we gave them the opportunity to talk, which I think was the right thing to do because they came down here, and hopefully we will take care of that. The only other thing is, you know, we want to make sure that the staff gets the rest of the cookies, so I did count them. There's at least 36.
No comment.
I have 2 comments. Number 1, sounds like we all have a little homework in going to read all those ordinances of Chickaming Township. And number 2, as tomorrow is Griffin Graham's last day, I just want to say thank you for all he's done, and we will miss him a lot.
No comments.
Wow. It's not very often we get that light of discussion here. Question, where is the big whiteboard currently?
In the hallway.
Okay.
to the offices.
Make sure and reserve that
Okay,
if we're to need it for ordinance
We can do it.
rewriting. I don't know yet,
okay,
but it came in handy last time around.
okay,
I don't anticipate going through the short-term rental line item by line item like I did last time,
okay.
but it is easier for everybody to be able to read it if we put it up there.
Okay.
August 1st, workshop. What else do we have out there? We still have the one ad hoc committee.
We do for the shoreline. And I expect to reengage that committee moving forward. I think there was a little bit of confusion after we last talked about that report that was prepared. So that report is final. It was a technical study prepared for us as part of a grant by Edgewater Resources. So I can make sure that you all have a copy of that report. I believe it's loaded to Documents on Demand now. And if you don't know where to find it, let me know and I'll point you in that direction. So we want to.
'Cause that'll kind of play with the master plan.
It will play in with the master plan, and then eventually, we hope to apply for another coastal grant to use, and hopefully we would be successful at obtaining funding to develop an ordinance to follow up on the planning efforts that we've done. So that's kind of the long-term picture where we're headed there. And we would engage that committee in that ordinance development.
Yeah, okay. And then I expect, just from not hearing, we're probably looking at these extra long meetings for the next 3 months into October.
And I will say the shoreline is farther out on the horizon. That's not immediate. But in terms of the master plan and the full zoning ordinance and now the short-term rental amendments, I do expect that we'll continue to have some workshops.
So just be prepared, and if you can't make a meeting, let us know, so we're sure to have quorum, so we don't stall out. Right, it's a pretty big group, we always have quorum, but you never know.
Ooh, you just jinxed.
You never know.
And we do have a tight timeline on that master plan, so I know that nobody likes homework, but if you can make sure to read through those goals and objectives, and I'll take whatever feedback you have and just funnel that through to SWMPEC, and then we'll keep plugging along that way. We'll need to do some work via email in order to make the progress that we need to make to have that substantial completion by December.
May I ask you a question? What was presented today, there were 4 less topics than there were in the current plan, like commercial development and
Sure.
the M43, whatever. Was there a reason that those were excluded?
That's a good question. I think I don't have a great answer for that, and I will ask.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned until August.